Hey guys, Tyro here, bringing you the December balance patch version 1.4 update. This is all the non-commander changes. I meant to do this yesterday, but didn't get around to it. But here we go, getting into it. Demo charges have been changed again. Can no longer be planted on territory points. The fuse timer, they put it to a 3-second timer. Now it's going back to instant, and it's now revealed by units within 7 meters. So like you have to be reasonably close, but obviously by no longer being able to plant them on territory points, you're not going to send a squad to auto cap something and it's going to get blown up. So I think no longer being planted on territory points, I think that's probably the change I was looking for. Maybe also if they limited, like maybe if they weren't revealed within 7 meters and you could only plant them on bridges and buildings, that would also be alright. But it's good change, I think, better than the 3-second timer. Going to Soviets, conscripts being changed again. In light of the recent changes made to conscripts to prevent them from scaling too well at high veterancy with picked up weapon upgrades, the following change has been made. Slot weapons reduced from 2 to 1. So I think the problem with, the reason why Soviet conscripts are so hard to balance is because they're the only ones without non-doctrinal weapon upgrades from all factions. So obviously that means that they kind of have to get slightly better veterancy to compensate for not having weapon upgrades. But that means if they pick up a weapon like the LMG 34 or Panzerschreck, they're an absolute nightmare for Axis, so it looks like they're trying to limit that a little bit from happening. Okay, and also this would probably help with the new conscripts, maybe if you're going to drop the Vickers from special weapons and the Brits. That would also stop conscripts from being too strong, so yeah, trying to limit these things from getting out of hand. I think that's probably a good change. IS-2. A lot of people have been calling for bust the IS-2. Scatter offset decreased from 0.25 to 0.185. So hopefully this means it won't overshoot so often. Because often when you like shooting at infantry, it just always overshot. So hopefully scatter offset means be a bit better. Far AoE increased from 0.05 to 0.1. So slightly better AoE on its gun. I think the scatter is more important than the AoE. Like if the IS-2 cannon lands a shot on infantry, it generally does pretty good damage. It's just landing the shot is the hardest thing. And it has a reasonably slow reload time as well compared to, say, the Tiger. So, the shots count. They are very important to actually land. So, the Ostwind for Wehrmacht is getting its range reverted from 45 to 40, so same as every other tank. I think part of the reason was behind this was in one of the balance patch games, somebody used Ostwind with hull down, which also increases the range. And it was just like really strong, so I think that's part of the reason. But also, 45 range did seem a bit weird. And I guess they're happy with the other Ostwind changes, not colliding with terrain. OKW LEIG auto attack range reduced from 85 to 80. So it's the same as most other mortars, the Soviet and the Austria one. The problem is the LAIG can't retreat. I think I would have preferred leaving it at 85, honestly. Because the LAIG, it can't retreat like the Soviet and the Austria mortar, so you have to be more cautious with it. I know it's got the long-range barrage, but I don't really like that change. Vet 3 smoke recharge moved to Vet 2, alright. Movement speed bonus removed from Vet 2, received accuracy bonus remains. That's a bit of a shame. It's going to make the LIG a bit risky on larger maps. Like maybe Angerville. Oh well. And in team games as well. Number of extra barrage shells received from veterancy from +4 to +1. Wow. I feel like the LIG is not going to be very good. It still costs 330, right? They didn't reduce the cost on it. Oh, I suppose they made it better against garrisons. But it can't retreat. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really like those changes. USCF Captain on me. Previous changes reverted. So now it can target one unit within 25-meter radius of the captain. Well, it's not that large of a radius. Oh, a radius. Yeah. It's decent. I mean, if you're blobbing, it'll obviously work. Even if you're not blobbing, like 2 units kind of trying to spread out to evade our MG could still be in range, so that's alright. 45-second cooldown. M36 Jackson. To improve Jackson's tank hunter capabilities, the following changes have been made. Moving accuracy changes reverted for main gun and high velocity armor piercing. So I think they changed it to 0.55 moving accuracy. I'll just double check that. 6.5, okay. So they've reverted that. So now it's keeping the 0.75. I think it's probably better to keep the 0.75, keep that as a theme for the US tanks. Makes it a bit less confusing. Main gun reloads. Whoa, it's reloading faster, quite a lot faster. And Vet 3 reload bonus decreased. I just worry about how the Jackson is going to perform against the Stug. I feel like it's going to... I know it's more expensive than the Stug, but I feel like it's going to completely dominate it with a faster reload time. Because, I mean, that's almost a whole second faster reload time. Alright. I didn't get to test the Jackson too much. I think I only played one game against it in its previous form, so that's hard to make an informed decision off one game. Anyway, this is the meat and potatoes of the patch. The British, there are a lot of British changes. Okay, so Artillery Commander Concentration Barrage can no longer fire through fog of war. That's good. It was so broken. Like, you got the Anvil upgrade with the airburst shells. Did like 2 or 3 of these on OKW truckers, guaranteed to be destroyed, even if you try to repair it. It's from like the amount of time, like the cooldown on it was like alright. The amount of time it took to repair your truck, and the amount of time the shells would keep landing from the base howitzers, making it really dangerous to try and repair your truck with the Stern Pioneers as well. But in compensation for not being able to fight through the fog of war, because it does cost 100 munitions, it is a decent chunk, whereas if you throw like a flare, for the pyrotechnics flare upgrade from a sniper, I think it's 30 munitions, so they have to compensate for it, and now it's always going to have airburst shells regardless of anvil tech. So yeah, you could do this with hammer now, but yeah, it does require sights, and in general allies tend not to have as many like recon planes or artillery flares and whatnot as the Axis, so may require a bit more coordination to spam this against trucks, but could still be a viable strategy. Placements, brace duration reduced from 30 to 20 seconds. Pretty big nerf to brace there. Incoming repairs reduced by 75% while brace is active. Also a big nerf. It's going to make emplacements very vulnerable, especially with the mortar pit. Oh, well, speaking of mortar pit, I may hold on there. Garrison bonus changed from reload bonus to barrage recharge bonus, minus 25% recharge. Okay. Auto attack range reduced again from 90 to 85. So 85 range is really not that long. It means the mortar pit is going to be very hard to use because, I mean, that's even worse than the LAG, which at least that can move around. The mortar pit can't move around. So it's going to be very hard for it to position it in a safe position, especially with the brace, like making the brace worse. I think the mortar pit is going to be quite bad. Changing this is obviously making, you know, the barrage better to compensate a little bit, but is it going to be worth building a mortar pit just to make use of its barrage? Yeah, I don't think so. And yeah, it's just going to be so vulnerable. 400 manpower to risk if you try place it forwards and try and make use of the auto fire. Yeah, okay. Forward assembly to increase diversity and utility of the forward assembly while decreasing the benefits of emplacement clumping. The following changes have been made. Emplacement aura removed. So yes, this used to give the emplacements the garrison bonus if you build a forward assembly next to them. So that's not happening anymore. So you can't build a forward assembly next to the mortar pit and have the barrage recharge bonus or the Bofors suppressing barrage or whatever it is. Cost reduced by 50. Can upgrade medics that provide passive healing for 50 manpower, say 60 munitions. Okay. That's good. So I mean, you know, at 250 manpower, 60 munitions, that's not too much different in price to like an Auster medic bunker. And I assume you can forward reinforce off that as well. So it's kind of like a command bunker and a mid bunker all in one for like quite a lot cheaper. Not that you see the command bunker that often, but yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Advanced fortifications removed, so I guess that's from advanced emplacements. The health and armor bonus removed. Did it get that? It's been such a long time since I've seen advanced emplacements, honestly. Medic upgrade, forward retreat upgrade and repair station upgrade are mutually exclusive. Wow. That's a pretty big nerf. So, I mean, on top of that, you know, there are the other forward retreat, like reinforcement time penalties, right? The 75% reinforcement speed nerf, if you have your forward retreat active, makes the forward retreat point on this seem very unappealing. Especially if you want going a commander without, that doesn't rely on, you know, Tommies, so you won't have access to the Tommy healing. Ooh, okay. Okay, well, continuing on. Repair engineers can no longer repair their own repair station. Wow, they are really nerfing the shit out of the Advanced Emplacements Commander. I didn't think it was... I mean, I barely ever saw it, so I didn't think it was in that bad of a spot at the moment, but they're really killing that commander. I mean, I didn't enjoy playing with it or against it, but it seems like it's going to be very bad in its current state. Well, onwards to the 17 pounder. Pop cap reduced from 20 to 14, so bring it more in line with howitzers and the Pak 43. I mean, 20 pop cap was just way too high. Arc indicator added. Good. Need to know what the range on it is to be able to use it properly. No longer possible to garrison the 17 pounder. What did it gain with garrison? I think it had a flare ability. I think you could do a flare on it if you garrisoned it. Reload speed normalized from 5 to 7 to 5.5. We'll just quickly check on the old Pak 43, check what that reload speed is. It's always good to do a comparison. 43 is over there. .65, so it's going to be reloading a fair chunk faster than the Pak 43. And what was this pop cap? I think this is at 10 though, right? Yeah, 10. So a bit cheaper. But of course, you know, Pak 43 is more vulnerable, doesn't have access to brace. Flares from garrison bonus to Vet 1. Okay, so I was right. And then moving it to be the Vet 1 ability, and it used to gain armor piercing rounds, so like the Packer could shoot through terrain at Vet 1, but it was quite hard to get it to Vet 1 if you couldn't like hide it behind a building, and it was quite difficult to use. Piercing rounds moved from Vet 1 to Vet 0, so probably going to be like an activatable ability similar to the AP rounds on what is it? Well, I don't know what the duration on this is, how much munitions it costs, but it looks like 17 pounder is going to be a bit more useful, so that's good. I think that is a good change overall to 17 pounder. Tommies. We feel that Tommies come out of the gate with too much raw power, but also lack the offensive ability to effectively assault a position. Therefore, to make Tommies feel more reliable and to improve their consistency on the battlefield, we've made the following changes. Moving accuracy modifier increased from 0.25 to 0.35, so going to be able to fire on the move better. It's going to help them with pushes. Vet 0 received accuracy reduced from 0.8 to 0.9, so that's a pretty big nerf to their received accuracy. What do always useful? What do Grenadiers have off the bat? Because they're also a 4-man squad at the start, but I felt like Tommies were stronger than Grenadiers at Vet 0. 0.91, so yeah, they're being made more similar to Grenadiers in that respect. Scoped infields, Vet 3 bonus removed. Yes, this should happen so long ago. Very happy to see that happen. That was just silly. But what are they getting at Vet 3 instead? What's their current Vet 3 bonus? Veterancy Guide Code 2. What do they gain at Vet 3? Because, I mean, that was one of the things. It would give you a slight DPS buff. So 2 scoped infields to the squad. 20% accuracy, 20% cooldown. So I think the scoped Enfield had less damage than the Tommy's gun, but it was more accurate. Had a higher rate of fire or something. So interesting to see if they change anything about their variancy to compensate for removing that. But it looks like they haven't done it on this patch. Breen gun reload time decreased from 8 to 9 seconds to 6.5 seconds. So that's a pretty big buff to Tommy Breen. So maybe that's going to help Tommy's, instead of, Vet 3 having their scoped Enfields giving them a bit more DPS. Now the Breen will be giving them a bit more DPS. And that'll be right from the start as well. As soon as you get LMGs, they'll be better. Pop cap reduced to 6 from 7. So I think it's the same as conscripts, same as the new grenadiers, I believe. Cone of fire from 1 to 5. So I imagine what this is when your squad aims at a squad and starts to fire. Probably might be more relevant for LMGs, but if a squad is moving and they have to switch directions, if they just if they just have to switch a small angle, they'll automatically be able to do that and fire their shot. They won't have to reposition their body and then line up the shot again and then fire. So it should make them a bit better against squads on the move, especially if this applies to the Breen. Okay, sapper cover bonus. Infantry cover bonus. Sappers, sniper, and commandos no longer gain 10% received accuracy bonus when in cover. Okay. I think part of the problem with received accuracy bonus when in cover is in the late game, there's so many craters from tank explosions and rocket artillery that it's pretty much a guaranteed 10% received accuracy bonus almost the whole time. So perhaps that's what they're trying to tone down. Sappers. We felt that sappers scaled too well and became too cost effective as the game progressed compared to British's mainline infantry. To compensate for this, the following changes have been made. Target size increased from 0.8 to 0.9. Oh, that's a pretty big nerf. Same as the Tommies. Vet 3 reinforcement bonus reduced from 20% to 10%. Oh man, this used to be 50% if you remember. And that made sappers really broken, especially when they used to gain a rate of fire increase on LMGs when in cover, and that made sapper spam incredibly broken. Because once they got Vet 3, you could just run them into incredibly inefficient engagements, but it wouldn't matter because they're so cheap to reinforce. I didn't think at 20% it was too bad, honestly. Pop cap reduced from 6 to 5. So I think 5 pop cap is the same as Pioneers, right? Yep, 5 pop cap. So it looks like they're bringing them more in line with Pioneers here. I think their guns will still do a fair chunk more DPS than the MP40s, but obviously they want you... Well, now that Sappers are also getting their repair speed nerfed, maybe they want you to be able to build more, so they're tweaking their pop cap there. Yeah, it's okay. It's a pretty big nerf to sappers though, with their target size increase here, and then also on their cover bonus. We'll see how that works. Anvil. To increase the appeal of Anvil to be more on par with Hammer, and to bring its cost better in line with its benefits / performance, the following changes have been made. Heavy Sappers. Movement speed penalty reduced from 50% to 25%. Oh, that's a good change. Felt like, as soon as Sappers got in combat, they were just way too slow. It's still like a pretty decent nerf if they're trying to avoid like explosives. You'll probably still have to retreat, but it won't completely hamstring them. Armor bonus reduced from 1 to 0.25. So Heavy Sapper upgrade is what, 70 munitions, and in exchange for that you get an LMG, faster repair speed, but I think they nerfed the repair speed on Sappers, right? So they nerfed the repair speed on it. And there you can see the changes to the engineers as well. Vet Zero engineer. I guess it comes down to how much this movement penalty feels. Okay, so here's a demonstration of the Sapper movement speed. I'm going to put these next to each other and then run. These ones in combat, these ones not. Here's the 25% movement speed penalty. So it's actually pretty minor. 25% movement penalty doesn't seem that bad. So maybe the Heavy Sappers will be alright actually. Churchill. Population cap reduced from 18 to 16. Smoke projector speed penalty removed. Vet 1 side hatch SMGs moving accuracy penalties increased from 0.5 to 0.85. So smoke projector penalties removed is a big change, because smoke on like Panzer Tactician on off their tanks is a real pain in the ass to deal with. And I know the smoke projector isn't as instantaneous as that. Well, I don't think it is. I'll include a test on this. I'll edit in a test on how quickly this disappears into the fog of war using the smoke. So there it goes. It disappears into the smoke real quickly. And it provides like an interesting kind of smoke. You can't really see it on your screen, but it blocks your line of sight really well. So we'll run that test one more time. So yeah, not as instantaneous as Panzer Tactician for sure. You still probably have maybe about 1.5 to 2 seconds to shoot it before it disappears into a smoke trail, but certainly makes it a very strong ability for 30 munitions. I think the Churchill, with its 1400 health, they didn't change the Churchill's 1400 health, just the Crocodile and the AVRE. It's going to be extremely hard to kill. Could this be the start of the Churchill spam revolution? Maybe. Airburst shells now fire at randomized intervals between 5 to 10 seconds, now have a 15 scatter radius. So yeah, airburst shells used to be 100% accurate, so now they're making them a bit less accurate. And now fire at randomized intervals. I guess that means they always used to fire, I think it was 2 bursts of heavier shells at the start of the barrage. Now they'll be mixed in perhaps with the other howitzer fire. A heavy gun bomb. To make the heavy gun bomb a better building clearing tool and more in line with the satchel charge, the following changes have been made. Cost reduced from 75 to 50, so bring it more in line with the satchel, which is 45. Damage increased from 200 to 340. I don't know how much damage the satchel charge even does. I know it's a lot, but I actually don't even know that. It's just a bit embarrassing. Oops. That's for the urban assault grenadiers. Is this it? This seems like it's in the US forces. 250. Oh, here we go. This is what we're after. Satchel charge multiplayer. 340, so same damage. Same damage as the penal satchel. AoE decreased. So higher damage and a smaller AoE. Still probably going to be just as lethal for squads inside the radius, but it won't go as wide. The heavy gamma bomb though still does engine crits, like a temporary engine crit to tanks that get hit by it. So even though it does cost 5 munitions more, it does have that advantage and the temporary engine crit. But it doesn't stick to tanks. So it doesn't stick to the tanks, so the tanks have to be on top of it to get them mobilized. Crocodile. To bring the Crocodile's performance better in line with its cost, the following changes have been made. Rotation rates reduced, so did they reduce? They didn't change the standard Churchill's rotation rate, but this is the same as the AVRE change. Pop cap increased from 18 to 20, so more similar to the other heavy tanks like the IS-2 and the Tiger. Health reduced from 1400 to 1080, so it's the same health as the Tiger. Armor increased from 240 to 290. How much armor? I think that's a similar armor to the Tiger, right? Tiger. It says 300 armor and 1040 health. It says 1080 health. So yeah, very similar to the Tiger in terms of health and armor. Crocodile though, well, like if you see the Tiger, the Tiger's getting its speed changed as well, but the Crocodile, or the Churchills in general, have very fast acceleration. Much faster acceleration than the Tiger. So they do have quite a slow top speed. So acceleration, yeah, see 3.5 acceleration for the Crocodile, and I think the Tiger's been changed to 1.8. So yeah, the Churchill is very fast acceleration. What are the top speeds? Yeah, but the Churchill's top speed is quite slow compared to the Tiger. So they're making it more like the Tiger. Perhaps they should accompany this with a top speed increase, perhaps. Slight top speed increase. Anyway, its damage being reduced by about 30% on the flamethrower. Flamethrower range looks like it's being decreased. I think the Crocodile had like 2 flamethrowers on it. So it looks like they're... And you couldn't see one or something. It was a bit weird. So it looks like they're kind of reducing the range. So it's probably going to make it a bit worse against support weapons. Certainly worse against tanks. They did give it some, the main gun on it, slightly more utility with this patch as well, but it's a pretty big nerf. But the Crocodile made it impossible to use Rikidens against it. It would torch them out in half a second, because the Rikiden has, the reduced range. Have to get close to the Crocodile. Even if you did one shot with a Rikiden and then retreated against the Crocodile, it would quite often die. But this seems very heavy-handed on the Crocodile. Probably a bit too many nerfs. Maybe if it has a top speed increase, this could work. Centaur. We felt that the Centaur lacked needed anti-garrison abilities and suffered from low mobility, which made the unit ineffective on certain maps. To resolve these issues, the following changes have been made. So they're changing the how the Centaur performs against garrisons. See, the problem with the Centaur was initially when Brits came out, it would kill units and garrisons in 2 shots or something. It would be blah blah, dead. So you'd have no time to get out of garrisons, you'd just lose your squad. So then they had to change that to what it is currently, which is quite ineffective. Same with the flak half track for OKW. But it looks like they're fine-tuning that again to make it useful against units inside garrisons. Looks like they're, they're fine-tuned the recipe, and hopefully this will be good. They're also changing the acceleration. So Centaur is very, very slow, and perhaps, this will make it more appealing to perhaps put the command vehicle on the Centaur, like I was talking about earlier. Acceleration increase, slight increase, still quite slow acceleration on par with heavy tanks. But speed increase, that's a pretty big speed increase. The reason why the Centaur had to be so slow is because its gun was so good at infantry. If it could chase them down on retreat effectively, it was very lethal. So it'll be interesting to see how good the Centaur is at wiping squads on retreat. Still, I think retreating squads move at 6, so they'll still be able to outrun the Centaur, but Centaur will be able to chase them for longer. If you compare this to, say, the Flak Panzer, which I think has a top speed of 6.3, so that can actually outrun slightly retreating squads. So it looks like they're trying to bring the Centaur to be a bit more in line with the revised Flak Panzer. 25 pounder. We're changing 25 pounders so they become more effective as a fast response artillery that can be used to negate buildings or take down enemy emplacements. Airburst changes make it so that Ticking Anvil will now allow the 25 pounder barrage to also double as area denial ability. Let's have a look at these changes. First howitzer now fires 4 shells from 6. So they're reducing the number of shells it's firing. Same with the second howitzer. Reload. Okay, so the shells are going to come in faster. Now always penetrates. So I think all other howitzers have 1,000 penetration, so if they hit a tank, they'll always penetrate. I'm not sure what the British one was before this. Now deals 25% reduced damage versus team weapons. Oh, they're changing a lot of things about this howitzer. Okay, we'll drink them all in and evaluate them as a whole. AoE damage to friendlies from 0.025. Oh, so running into your own howitzer fire could be quite a problem. So don't run into your own howitzer fire. This could be too much though, right? Could people use... I mean, this seems like another way to grief your allies. Can you use those pyrotechnics flares in your own base? I'll test that out as well. But this seems like AoE friendly damage to 1. Does this mean you could kill your allies' bases with the base howitzers from Brits very quickly? Seems like it. Oh, I shouldn't be talking about that. Scatter. First howitzer has 0 angle scatter and 5 scatter max and 1 scatter ratio. So it seems like the first howitzer is going to be quite accurate, is what they're saying here. Second howitzer is going to be less accurate. So I suppose they're trying to make using the pyrotechnics flares more appealing for Brits, especially on the first howitzer. Maybe if you want to clear buildings, they're making it better. And because now that you can build a forward assembly with the medics in your base for, not too dissimilar price to the Austria one, more manpower, but not too dissimilar. That means that you can afford to get more pyrotechnics Tommies. So that's probably going to make up somewhat for the mortar pit getting so many nerfs. Alright, so the base howitzers always needed a bit of a spruce up. So okay, continuing on. Airburst shells have randomized 3 to 10 second interval between them and come with increased scatter radius. Horizontal and vertical rotation rate increased from 25 to 40. So this is going to make them more responsive at turning around to face where you're throwing the flare. That's a good change. Shell speed increased from 29 to 40, so those shells are going to come in faster. So they're definitely making the howitzer more responsive. Usage and cooldown. Cooldown decreased from 150 to 80. It's a pretty big cooldown reduction. Suppression reduces howitzer flare throw range by 33%. So similar to grenades. You're not going to be able to throw those pyrotechnics flares as far if your infantry is suppressed. So that's a lot of changes to 25 pounder, making them more responsive, do less shells, going to do more friendly fire damage, so you can't run into the area. You can't just no-brainer throw it into the area and then run in on the back of it and make a good push. So here we are about to test the new British base howitzers. So at the moment I've got just the tier 1 unlocked. Just the first base howitzer unlocked. So remember that this pyrotechnic supplies also increases your sight. So you can see there, pretty sizable sight increase. So I expect to see a lot more pyrotechnic supplies now that you don't require Tommy healing. So you can't forget about that pyrotechnic supply sight increase. I know Dusty used to be a big fan of getting this on one squad just for that line of sight bonus, and he was top 10 as Brits for forever. Okay, we're going to And a little bit of a test here. So we're going to put this machine gun in the building. We're going to throw a flare in the building. We're going to see you're a tier 1. This is probably a situation you might, or very likely, going to see in a game. So we'll just toss that in there. So remember, this only does 4 shells now. Did that not throw? Oh, it did throw. Okay. Whoa, very accurate. See the scatter on that, very greatly reduced. Like all those shells are landing in a very tight area. So it looks like, you know, that's one of the more durable wooden buildings. So it looks like it's pretty much a guaranteed kill on a wooden building. Very tight scatter on it as well. So yeah, very strong at garrison denial, even with just the first howitzer unlocked. So now we will upgrade to the second howitzer. We'll do it on this building up here. Oh, we could do it. Yeah, we'll do it on this building up here. This is another one that you're likely to use. And you might in fact use this at this stage of tech as well. So this one has to spin around. That's why howitzers are not always that responsive the first time you use them, because they're facing in an unusual direction. Okay, so the second howitzer, it looks like it still scatters quite wide. Yeah, the second howitzer shells do seem to have quite a decent amount of scatter on them, but the first howitzer seems to be almost pinpoint accurate. Anvil.
Units are now ready to use Anvil defensive drills and tactics.
And use the howitzer on this building, I guess. Oh, should we use it on... We'll use it on a couple squads, eh? We'll use it on a couple enemy squads. We'll scatter some squads around here and we'll put some... maybe a couple grenadiers and a... pack. Something like this. It's a situation you might see in a game. So we'll toss a... oops. This is a situation you might see in a game. Remember, you got their increased sight, so you can see them way before they can see you. So I'm going to toss it in the center of that, closer towards the pack. Turn off the fog so we can get a full view of this. So, scatter. So yeah, the airburst shell's scattering quite a lot. Oh, and they looks like we've got 3 lots of airburst shells. 4 lots. So you get quite a lot of airburst shells, but they do scatter quite a lot. So it looks like it's going to be quite, like, you know, strong at forcing team weapons to reposition. Okay, so now we're going to test the concentration barrage. Remember, you can no longer do this into the fog of war, but they've changed it so you always get airburst shells. So here we've just got the first stage of tech unlocked. I mean, I suppose you could... It is conceivable that you'll use this before you unlock your tanks at 4 CPs. So we'll test that out. I wanted to test these on some stone buildings, so that's why we're on Arnhem Checkpoint. We'll test it on this one. I think this is probably one that you might use it on. So remember, this is the first howitzer as well. which should be super accurate.
Firing on target.
So there comes the airburst shells. They do scatter a bit. The howitzer seems to be dead on target. Airburst shell scatter again. So it looks like we get 4 airburst shells there, as well as the howitzer fire. And as you can see, pretty much guaranteed destruction, even of like a pretty strong stone building. So now we will upgrade this
The new company command post is ready.
to anvil
Units are now ready to use anvil defensive drills
and
and
use it
tactics.
on the church. See if this changes it. See if we get more airburst shells or
Coordinates received. We'll flatten the area.
how it goes on. Okay, so it doesn't change the amount of airburst shells you get. So going for anvil with this commander doesn't really help you at all. Well, with, you know, it doesn't help your concentration barrage at all. And it looks like the church managed to hold up, this stone church managed to hold up against that barrage. So it's definitely not a one-click kill on every building. But it also seemed a bit unlucky. A lot of those ones scattered quite wide, even though we were like quite close range to it as well. So yeah, that's a good demonstration of the new howitzer. Now that I remember, Tommy's having their moving accuracy modifier to 0.35 and then stacking that with the commando assault, which gives them 100% bonus. That commando assault with the revised Tommies, with this change as well, might be really, really strong. But yeah, back to the howitzers. I'll include some tests. We'll see how they go on. Bug fixes and quality of life changes. Fixed an issue where the walking Stuka barrages would not share a cooldown. So that's the incendiary barrage you get at Vet 3, I think. So would not share a cooldown. Hopefully they fix the barrage on it, because at the moment, if you shoot the incendiary barrage long range, the shells land like 1,000,000 miles away from each other. Huge scatter on them. So hopefully they slightly reduce that scatter on the shells as a compensation, because nobody's going to spend 100 munitions if it shares the same cooldown with the actual barrage in its current iteration. Fox flame grenade now available. Okay, looks like they made a mistake there. And tripwire flare cooldown fixed. So yeah, this is the only one that's a meaningful change. And yeah, hopefully they fix the scatter on it, because nobody's going to pay 100 munitions to deny their actual walking Stuka barrage for the incendiary one in its current state. So I think I do like the changes to the Tommies, I think, but I'm worried about the assault with the commander's ability stacking with this being very strong, perhaps too strong. I do like that they're trying to make the base howitzers more viable. Perhaps the crocodile nerfed a little bit too much. Perhaps the heavy sappers nerfed a little bit too much. Perhaps the smoke projector on this Churchill might be too good. We're going to have to test that. The mortar pit, I don't like this reduction. And I mean, I think the garrison bonus could maybe be 35%. Now that you can't get the garrison bonus from emplacements, I don't think somebody's going to leave a squad inside their mortar pit for a 25% bonus. 35% I think probably would, but 25% probably would not. And yeah, I also don't like the decrease in range on the auto attack of the LEIG. Just, yeah. And I'm also a bit worried that the Jackson's rate of fire is going to be too strong. And I also don't like how emplacements, the advanced emplacements seem to have got a lot of nerfs. But I do like the forward assembly being able to upgrade medics, so opening up another path to get medics as the British. So that is a change that I do like very much. Also do kind of like the IS-2 change, and do prefer this demo charge to the 3-second fuse one. So yes, this one a bit more hit and miss for me, but still exciting. And